PowerA controller, Pro controller, same function in two completely different pads. Let's just jump straight in. I'm going to be breaking this video down into 5 different sections: appearance, build quality, performance, and price, before giving you an overall comparison of both controllers. Remember that this is based on my opinion of these controllers and your experience might be different. Firstly, appearance. Now the PowerA controller comes in a massive variety of different designs, all featuring a kind of high quality image on the front. They have these different colored buttons and yeah, they're just kind of nice to look at. Especially if you're looking to personalize your gaming experience, you can't go wrong with the PowerA. On the other hand, the basic Pro controller comes in this semi-black transparent look, which I personally think looks really good. Has these kind of shapes underneath the shell here, and yeah, it's an overall good looking pad. The Pro controller also comes in a couple of different variations, but nowhere near as many as the PowerA. Based on the variety of PowerA controllers alone, I've got to say the PowerA has got the Pro controller beat. Now moving on to build quality, and when you start to touch these controllers is when you can start to feel quite a big difference. The Pro controller, sturdy, feels quite hard, doesn't sound like there's any loose parts, and it feels like it could take a drop or two. I've definitely dropped this controller a couple times and it still works fine for me. All the buttons feel quite tight and yeah, feels really good. It's got a little bit of weight to it. But after touching the Pro controller, picking up the PowerA feels a little bit more flimsy, feels quite light. All the materials just feel a bit cheaper, and it feels like if you do drop this thing, it might not last. That's not to say the build quality is bad. If you pick this thing up without touching the Pro controller, to be fair, it still feels like the materials are decent, but it's only comparing it to the Pro controller where it starts to feel a lot cheaper. Build quality, no competition. To be honest, the Pro controller just feels a whole lot better. Onto the performance of these things. Now, both controllers feel very, very similar and they work perfectly fine, but I will say that the PowerA is a lot more noisier. I think that's because of the cheaper materials. Yeah, I don't know, I'm not a fan. It's not just the noise that's a problem. I feel like you have to push the buttons down a bit more to register an input. It's not bad. It's just when you compare it to the Pro controller, I don't know, it feels a lot more smooth, especially the back buttons. These back buttons are a bit like, yeah. Another important point on performance on the PowerA is the removable batteries. You might see this as a pro or a con, depending how you look at it. I personally see it as a pro because it means you won't have to worry about forgetting to charge a controller. You can just switch out the batteries. I must say that Pro controller's batteries, for me personally, I find that it basically never runs out, but the option to remove these batteries are always useful. Actually as well, even though you can remove the PowerA's batteries, you won't actually find yourself taking these batteries out that often because I feel like the energy usage on these controllers isn't that high. Another massive performance advantage of the PowerA controller are these 2 mappable buttons on the back. You can map these buttons to register any button on the controller, and the Pro controller just doesn't have that functionality. Overall for performance, I've still got to go for the Pro controller. Even though the PowerA controller has these removable batteries and it has these 2 mappable buttons, I just don't use either function enough. The Pro controller just feels a lot better to play with. Inputs on the buttons feel a lot smoother, and to be honest, because of the better build quality, it feels nicer in the hands. So playing with this thing feels a lot better. Now very importantly, the price. This has just got to go straight to the PowerA controller, to be honest. It's a lot cheaper than the Pro controller. It's hard to give you straight figures, but while the PowerA controller usually hovers around $40 to $50 on Amazon, the Pro controller tends to be around $70. Also, the different variations of the PowerA tend to be around the same price on Amazon, while the Pro controller variations can be a whole lot more expensive, and to be honest, that's if you can even find them. The PowerA controller on Amazon also tends to have a lot more sales, so if you can find this thing on discount, you might be able to get yourself a bargain. I've left links in the description box down below so you can check the most up-to-date prices on both controllers. I've got to say though, a negative for both of these controllers is inconsistent availability on Amazon. In making this video, I was trying to find the Pro controller on Amazon and I couldn't even seem to find it anywhere, to be honest, so you might have to buy it straight from the Nintendo store. The PowerA controller's designs aren't always available either on Amazon. I feel like they're constantly bringing out new designs and getting rid of some of the old and unpopular ones, so if you see one that you like, you should probably buy it up real quick. Now overall, I'm not gonna lie, it's a really close one, but I'm gonna have to go for the Pro controller. For me, the 2 most important things for a controller, especially if you're spending this much money, is the build quality and how it performs. I feel like the weight of this thing feels like it can take a drop a lot better. Yeah, if you're paying this much money, you definitely don't want this thing breaking. Just playing with it, the inputs feel a lot smoother. It's not as loud and clicky and annoying. It just feels a lot better. It's not to say that the PowerA controller doesn't have its merits. It's still a really good controller, especially if you're on a bit more of a budget. If you are someone who uses mappable buttons as well, you might want to factor that in. Although the PowerA controller feels a bit more cheap in comparison to the Pro controller, it definitely doesn't feel like a low quality product. It's only when you compare the 2 that you can really notice the difference. But yeah, to be honest, if you're looking for a pad for your Switch, you definitely can't go wrong with either of these controllers. That's it for this video. I hope you found it useful, and yeah, see you in the next one.